Hello and welcome back to Let's Chill, the official, unofficial Minnesota Wind Chill, Minnesota Strike podcast. I'm Jeff,
I'm Jay.
And I'm Kane.
and today we are joined once again by Ben Feldman to preview the playoffs, especially with the upcoming Indy AlleyCats game. Ben, how's it going?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me back on. I'm excited. Big game coming up this week.
Yeah, one of the biggest games probably of the Wind Chill history up to this point. Um, I think this whole episode is going to be basically about that. So let's just start with an easy one. Like, how is the team feeling hosting this Central Division Championship game against the Alley Cats next Saturday?
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty fired up and pumped up. Been wanting to host this game. That's always the goal, is to get the one seed and have the opportunity to, punch a ticket championship weekend. And after a couple, tough games on the road the last 2 years, I think the ability to host this game, which we've been in, we've had that experience. A lot of our guys are still on the team who played in those games, and it's nice to maybe to host on home turf finally for the first time, and hopefully helps result in a better outcome, to what we faced the last 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. We were talking about how that home field advantage is going to be a different vibe for sure. And not only that, but it's the fact that we have Indy up against us rather than Chicago, who we fell to the last 2 years. So with Indy coming to Minnesota, how do we feel about that matchup? Better or worse than Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, Indy's a really good team. We've despite having quite a bit of success, historically going back, the last couple seasons, we've had a lot of really tight and close games, and honestly, they on their home turf, they had the opportunity to oust us from the playoffs back in, what was that, 2018, um, which was a stinger. Traveled all the way down to Indy for that one. So it's nice to host this game on home turf. Chicago or Indy, whoever it was going to be, it's gonna be a tough game. And Indy, their strength is their guys and their team been playing together for a really long time. Their returning core offensive line's really solid, and they have a lot of athletes and size that is kind of paired up with the team now. So yeah, it's gonna be a good game. It's a good challenge, and they're a great team. So yeah, we're excited for the game on Saturday.
Did you like have a preference? I mean, maybe you don't want to say this on the pod. Like, did you have a preference of Chicago or Indy facing you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think we a little bit of it feels like unfinished business against the Chicago group. I think unfortunately they didn't really have the core of their roster for a lot of their games this year, a lot of their talent, and they unfortunately didn't really pull together some of those pieces for the playoff game either. So whoever we were facing, I think there's still a bit of unfinished business, a little bit with Chicago that will maybe have to wait another season. But we're our goal is getting a championship weekend. I like our chances against Indy. Our team's confident against them, and this is the first time, knock on wood, I think we made it through the weekend without any new injuries. I haven't talked to all the guys who are up in Colorado. We had 12 or 20 playing the club tournament, as did a lot of other teams playing in the UDL playoffs this weekend. But this is the first time all year I think we're going to have our entire availability, and it's probably the first time we put this active 20 together. It's that's our offensive line and even some of our defensive pieces. So hopefully coming together at the right time, fully healthy, which we haven't had the ability to do the last couple of years, and always had some injuries plaguing us. So thankful for that, and hopefully peaking at the right time here to get the job done.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. That kind of so that relates to another question we had. Um, for playoffs in general, and specifically championship weekend, because that's like a two games in a weekend possibly. But just in general, do you set the same 20 for the whole playoffs? Do you get like 25 or anything, any extras, or how does that work?
Yes, the playoff eligibility roster is 30, which was set several weeks ago, is the eligibility. So for us, I mean, we don't have many more than 20 contracted players. I mean, we do, but some of those were practice players who were called up for specific games and things like that. So we set that 30. They're the eligible group for the playoffs, and then we pare down to 20 for each game. Our roster for championship weekend, if we make it, could look different on Friday than it is on Saturday, and it could look completely different than what it is obviously for this weekend. So yeah, we do have there is more flexibility there in the group that we'll send out on this Saturday. We'll have another, if we are fortunate enough to qualify, we'll have another couple weeks of practice and things. And hopefully not another couple of weeks to get hurt or have injuries, but there's always things that come up, right? Illness, injury, others. So it was some of the toughest decisions we had to make for our roster this weekend, and which will come out here in a couple days. But yeah, good problem to have, I guess. But you wish you give everyone an opportunity to play in a game like this, and we're splitting hairs. It's really coming down to our coaching staff and leadership does a good job of analyzing matchups and figuring out what the right complexion of players is for the game. So some tough decisions, but like I said, we're really excited for Saturday. So yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you have that roster ready to go. So when did you how long have you been building that roster for, how long have you been looking at it? How long have you been deciding? Because you guys said you had 30 eligible players for weeks. How long have you been choosing this 20?
Yeah. This is the first time ever we've had the fortune of having this much time to prepare for a playoff game. We've never got the bye. Granted, the bye wasn't always a thing. It was just originally at some point it was just two teams. I'm trying to think of trying to think back if there was always the 2-3 game, how long that's been going on for. But yeah, we've never had a playoff bye, so this is the most prep time we've ever had for a playoff game in franchise history. There's no doubt there. I mean, like what, three full weeks of practice following that Detroit game. So yeah, we set our roster this past week following our practice. We want to be able to we'll use that this weekend on our Tuesday night to work through lines and really structure our group in a way that gets our active guys pulled together. Typically we're using that as an opportunity to analyze who's the right fit for the roster on Saturday. In this situation, we're going to use it to optimize and really prepare for Saturday. We fortunately have a lot of time to get ready for this one. So yeah, a little bit different, but yeah, we'll have everyone there, whether it's 21, 22, 23, next man up. We've had injuries before, people sick or not ready to go. So it'll be a full team effort, whether the active 20, the reserves, people on the sideline, our practice players, coaches, fans. It's going to take a whole collective effort to get the job done on Saturday. And yeah, we're chomping at the bit, that's for sure.
So looking at the AlleyCats a little bit and analyzing like their gameplay. I think this is talked about a lot, and maybe this is a boring question, but I don't know. I think it's really relevant, especially at Seafoam. The majority of their seasons played indoors. A lot of those games, their completion percentage and a lot of their opponents' completions percentage always skyrocket, right? Like the Minnesota wind chill, like held the disc, like probably one of their best games when they face Indy indoors. How do you think that gameplay, especially the AlleyCats, because they're more used to indoors, how do you think that's going to translate to Seafoam? And do you ever notice like a different kind of matchup or approach when you play indoors against them versus outdoors or at Seafoam?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. It takes some adjusting and adapting. I mean, we play arguably probably in the windiest venue, consistently windy venue from what I hear across the league. And I haven't necessarily always seen that as a strength of ours, but I think for whatever this reason with some of the throwers and talent, like I think we maybe crave those conditions a little bit this year. It probably helps us with some of our defensive strategy sets and strengths that we have. But it's hard whether you play indoors or not, it's hard to come in, to a venue like ours with our fans and perform in those conditions. It's a little bit wonky and crazy, and whether it's windy or not on Saturday, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit different. I think Indy, those guys are a talented group of players. It's their offensive line is extremely effective indoors, and like I said, I think their defensive conversion is one of the best in the league as well. You look at ours, it's like, well, our goals allowed and blocks and whatever it might be. Like our stats are padded a little bit too because we play in windy conditions, right? But our O-line numbers aren't that great, right? Because the O-line's suffering through that as well. So it's the give and take. Data's a little bit skewed, obviously, based on your home venue and things like that. But they're going to be ready. We maybe caught them a little bit off guard in those windy conditions on Saturday. They've had film, they've had footage, they're working hard. They have a good group of coaches. They're going to come ready and prepared, and like I said, whether it's no wind or 15-mile-per-hour winds, we're expecting they're probably gonna perform better than they did last time up here when they struggled, and we got to be ready for that. So we gotta step up, be even better, counter that, and I have a lot of confidence in our coaches, our strategy, and the adjustments we're going to make as well to be even better than we were before.
Yeah, obviously we're looking forward to see how the team pieces that together. It's interesting to see what practices look like in the postseason to me. Are you about the same intensity? Does the schedule change at all? Or are you guys keeping it pretty consistent from what the regular season looked like?
Yeah, it's when you got this much, we've worked on some very specific like new strategies and things that we're hopefully going to be able to leverage, Saturday or further into the playoffs. So we've tried to expand on new things that we haven't been doing, so it's not the same thing over and over again. When you're playing the same opponents multiple times every season in film study, we're looking for new ways and things to add on and layer that will make us better. And not just this year, but beyond. So there's new things we've been focusing on as a team to keep people engaged. We unfortunately only practice once a week, so it's a limited amount of time. A lot of these guys are also getting some competitive reps to their club teams, which thankfully for us, a lot of guys play together, so our players are interacting with each other more than one night a week, which is great. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a little bit weird having 3 weeks of time. So coaching group has had the opportunity to go back and revisit some things we've struggled with, situational stuff, whether it's red zone related or end of quarter related. There's some nice things we've been able to work through, which and really break down that we maybe didn't have the opportunity to spend as much time on during the regular season when we're clipping away a game every weekend, and your games are a big part of your practice, right? So sometimes hard to do some of that stuff in a game environment.
Looking at these last few seasons, and specifically last year, Chicago went really far and did really well. And it was kind of always like the thorn in the side of Minnesota, it felt like. So how does it feel for you personally as the coach, but also like for the team in general to like see Chicago not doing as well this year? Does that make you how does it make you guys feel?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of it is, we want to win the division and get to championship weekend and all that. But a lot of for our guys, we also want to play extremely competitive games. So, Chicago this season had a lot of roster inconsistency. There's a lot of talent on the roster, but maybe they didn't have it pieced together for every game. So, we want to play against the best to be the best. You saw that in our schedule design to go out and play Colorado. We want to be challenged and help the team improve, because when it comes to these big games and moments, you want to be performing. You're going to lean on all the experience that you've gathered. So the more competitive and the better the teams are in our division, the more engaged our players are going to be, the more engaged our fans are going to be. So we're all about having that talent. Chicago has had our number the last couple seasons for sure. We've gotten them back a little bit, but this season it's been nice to take care of business at home, which we had hoped and expected. But I don't know. Our time will come to face off against that group again next year. But we're focused on one thing alone, and that's winning this game Saturday. Whoever's coming, it's going to be Indy. Focus on beating them, and so Chicago's in the rearview mirror, thankfully. And it's Indies are in the right to come play us, so we're excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned going back a little bit to like the practice and stuff, like you called out red zone conversion and a quarter place, and maybe that was just like some examples you were using, but is there anything else in particular that you like that the team really needs to nail down if they want to win against Indy or again go deep into the playoffs? Like what would you say right now is maybe the team's weakest spot or their biggest opportunity to improve?
Yeah, I mean, it's no question that we have the most opportunity, if this statistically speaking, to improve on the offensive side of the ball. We've converted well, we're getting blocks, and even our offensive group knows. We've had a lot of inconsistency on our offensive group. This is the first game we're going to have like all of I would say our planned pieces together. We've been practicing a little bit, and we've had all but maybe one here and there. But the last couple of seasons are. It's tough to play at Seafoam with the win, but we know our offense is extremely talented. Just a matter of them putting it together. So We have one of the best defenses in the league. We can lean on that. But we're excited because I think our offensive group's going to be ready to play. They're going to come to play on Saturday, and there's so much upside there that any small gain that we have with offensive conversion is just a massive boost. So those guys are ready for the challenge. We're happy and excited to have everyone healthy, and yeah, those guys. I'm excited to see those guys get after it on Saturday.
So is there a balance of kind of looking into the past prior to this season versus keeping what's consistent to this season? So like for example, Abe Coffin on offense versus defense, or even Colin Berry has played, a lot of offense this season compared to prior seasons. Are you considering those like positions and their familiarity in their career versus like this year they've been more in like different roles? Does that question make sense?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's always balancing, what combination of players is going to make the most sense with that unit. Who can we maybe cross over that's going to be valuable? Some of our players are maybe more offensively focused and gifted versus defensively. So it's figuring out who works well together. Where can we put our talent that's going to make the most effective? And I don't know. I mean, we're trying to stack as much talent as we can and experience on that offensive line, and we got a bunch of great guys over there. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I think we've tried some different combinations of players, the rotation of players that go out there on Saturday, whoever it is, are going to be ready to game, and a lot of them have been cutting and playing together for a really long time. So. It's going to be great, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked at least on this podcast and in our articles that like a lot of the players can be kind of pieced in just about anywhere as needed, and they find a way to help the team, whether it's directly with this huge layout or indirectly with some defensive pressure downfield, anything. So it's been pretty cool to see the flexibility of the team and how they adapt to each situation.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, piecing together this team, piecing together this offense, and you finally have all the pieces you want for this weekend. So if you can say, who is the starting seven for your O-line this weekend? If you can say, if you can't, that's okay.
I don't know if I can give you any leaks here. I mean, you guys, I think you guys know the 3 or 4 handlers that have been playing offense for us over the past several seasons, right? Or the course of the season, right? We've had injury here. There, Abe was out a little bit. Will Brandt was out early in the season. And hopefully have both of those guys now healthy for Saturday. So, our backfield 4 have been there, and there's no real changes. On the offensive side of things, like the guys have been rotating in and out. The biggest thing is just some of the guys have been able to play in that unit. With everyone available, we had to make some really tough decisions for the active 20 this weekend. So, we wish there's more than 20 people who deserve to be on this roster for sure. There's no question there. Guys who've been core anchors for us all season, playing in a ton of games. And so I won't give you the specific 7, but you can probably have a pretty good guess of what that's going to look like once you see our I don't know if our 30s probably not listed yet, but I don't think there'll be any surprises for you guys there when you look at the names.
Right. Well, that's a good problem to have. I know at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of absences and a lot of players leaving here and there, and then a bunch of injuries came out. And so I remember, at least on the 3 of us, feeling a little bit hesitant and a little bit inconsistent with the roster. So how has it been for you as a coach to see this team kind of piece itself together throughout the season, suffer a couple of big losses, that one in Colorado, and then grow as a team? How has that been for you as a coach, and what has been driving that?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice the goal was to get the 1 seed. We got that job done. Had a couple bumps along the road, which is a good thing. There's a lot of things we learned about our team from playing in Colorado. Some of the stuff that they ran against us that we hadn't seen before. So helped us grow. And if we're fortunate, like I said, to get to championship weekend, it won't be Colorado, but there's different things that we're going to see from other opponents that, doing those cross-divisional games helps prepare you for those moments. I think those bumps were helpful and necessary. We had some challenging games against Madison. both at home and on the road. Those big game moments in front of crowds is what's going to develop our young players and make them effective in those high pressure moments. So really thankful for those opportunities that we got. And it feels good to be 10-2. My expectation was that we would be doing that going into the season with the roster that we had. And, a lot of our blossoming young talent has been really effective too. So again, it all comes down. The board is swept now or clean clear. It comes down to everyone 0-0. It's just one game here. That's all it takes. And it's a big game. There's a lot on the line on Saturday for us as a team, as a business. With championship week in our backyard. I mean, big boys are going to have to come out on Saturday to get the job done, and I think they're ready for it. So they're chomping at the bit, and we've had some harsh losses the last couple seasons, and some of our veterans I think are going to be won't be short of any motivation on Saturday. I can tell you that much.
Heck yeah, love to hear that. Okay, this is kind of related, and I don't want to jump too far ahead of championship weekend, but I'm just kind of curious, like with that loss in Colorado and like that experience that you had, that's by no means invaluable, right? That was probably one of the most valuable games you played all season. If you do make it a championship weekend or just in general, any team going, how would you prepare for that matchup where you're not playing any familiar teams at that point, right? Like you can prepare for Indy, their roster, how to theoretically defend Cam Brock, and you can prepare for that. How do you even begin to prepare for playing teams you've never even seen before?
Yeah. I think a lot of teams in contention, our leadership already is watching a decent amount of film on them, not because we're expecting to play them, because they're doing a lot of things that we either are interested in or curious about to see what types of strategies and sets they're doing. I think a lot of teams are probably doing the same. So, Atlanta Hustle played against Indy, so we've reviewed that game and watched that quite a bit, seen some of the stuff that they do. There's some elements of New York and their defensive style and what they're doing, and obviously being champions, there's some film study that happens there for sure as well. So we'll definitely would be turning the page next week if we take care of business on Saturday, do that in a much deeper level down to player personnel and things. But everyone's watching footage, so it won't be the first time. We watch a lot of those games. Leadership, the best teams in the league. We those big games, Colorado, Salt Lake, the Empire and Breeze. I mean, we're all tuning into those and taking notes and things. So, and obviously we know a lot of the players on those teams, whether they've been ex-Winchell or prior teammates or just on the Winchell last year, right? There's some familiarity there. Some teams more than others, but there'll be a lot of time that is set aside to hopefully go in depth, next week if we're fortunate enough to qualify to prepare ourselves for what that game would be.
So let's get your predictions. Who do you think will be the 4 in Egan?
Oh man. Well, I'll start with us. I have confidence in our group to get the job done. So we'll set that one aside. I don't know. All the 1 seeds are pretty talented. I think Vegas would tell you that the probability of all the 1 seeds making championship weekend is probably pretty low if you're a betting man. I obviously not a betting man on this one, but if I was or I could, I think it's unlikely that all the ones hold. I think there's a decent amount of parity and some competitive teams. So I don't know who will drop. Hopefully it's not us, but yeah, man, I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch. I'm curious to hear you guys, your perspective though.
Man, I mean, after that Aviator Summit upset, like I don't know what's left and right anymore. Like I don't know. I never saw that coming. Maybe you guys, well, Kane actually predicted it, but
I did predict that. Yeah, I got all the 1 seeds going. But also, like you said, I feel like it really can be a toss up with most of them. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I think my hot take is if any 1 seed's not going to make it, it's probably the Empire. I think the Breeze have it out for them. I think they're sick and tired of them. So it's my hot take.
I don't think I want the Empire to fall so bad. If they do, it's going to be a championship weekend. I don't think this year's Breeze I think they were built for it, but I don't know if I don't know. But just watching them play this year, I don't think they're gonna do it this year. I want them to, but I don't know if it'll happen. So yeah, I guess I'll say the boring answer too, and I'll say the 1 seeds, but I could see the South Division being upset.
Yeah, Austin's a good team. It's hard. They obviously haven't played a ton of volume against the other side of the division, staying
Yeah.
in Texas for the majority of their games. But um, I think they ride momentum well, and if a couple of their guys are performing at a really high level, and Atlanta's looking for their first berth too. So we're like us, and like everyone. There's a lot of people going through that, and it's a lot of pressure. So you got to perform in that, and I think that game, first time attendee, right? Austin, Atlanta, no matter what, someone's going to championship weekend for the first time ever, and um, so yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Feels like that one to me feels like most uncertainty. Two really explosive good teams, and um, yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens. So
For
All
sure.
right, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Are you or is anyone on the team superstitious? And if so, what are people doing to kind of get that ready for the indie game here?
oh man, yeah, I don't think so. I was thinking about who was it our was it the indie game, or I can't remember. I usually do a lot of talking to the team before the game, the hype up the team or vocal. And I can't remember. I think it was the indie game, which I would say was the big game of the year on 7-9. And like for that game, uh, like I literally didn't even say anything. I don't know if I was late or I just didn't, but I like didn't even say anything pregame in the huddle. And we came out pretty. Maybe it was the Chicago game, but maybe that's when I went superstition. Like maybe I just need to stop talking. Like the last game we had wasn't the Detroit game. It was either Indy or Chicago where we just came out flaming hot, and I'm like, all right, maybe I just need to stop talking. Like maybe I'm the problem here on the slow start. So, yeah, maybe I'll just keep my mouth shut. An
Was
ultimate
that
problem, but yeah,
was that the game that you were dancing at, or
that was no,
because
that was in Madison. The clip that you saw of me
yeah,
dancing was
Yeah,
because
that was
maybe you
great.
need to just do a pregame dance instead. I
Yeah.
think that's effective.
the clipboard break has been a popular one, but that's usually provoked. And when the clipboard breaks, there's games we've lost for sure, but it's been positive thus far. Times it's broken this year, so I don't know that. Hopefully, I won't be busting on any broken clipboards this weekend. That means we're probably in a pretty good spot. But if it gets dire enough, you might see it happen.
I just
What's
assumed
your
it's broken.
average?
Oh,
What's your average clipboards per season?
I got I've gotten like 12 packs on Amazon. They're like $1.50 a piece or something. So, and the funny thing is, for game operations sake, like I always like printing off stuff for game day, like the PA script and like other activation stuff and scripts. So I bring a bunch of clipboards, and I bring some typically for the other coaches. Sometimes we just are printing stuff. So like I leak clipboards, not only because I break them, but because like my PA, I just was talking to him. He's like, yeah, I got a stash of 10 at my house. So I was like, I'm going to do something creative and like giving them back to you. But like every game, I have his script and the clipboard up there, and I never get it back. So I just leak them. But I literally have a box of clipboards in the back of my truck. I think I got enough in there to get through the season. But yeah, I usually order at least a dozen, if not more, for the year. And I think I've already broken 2 or 3 this year. So or lose them or misplace them, whatever it is. So
we'll have to keep track on the sidelines how many he goes through in the indie game. um, Ben, is there anything you want to like tell the fans? Like what's and maybe it's like an obvious question, but like what can the fans look forward to on Saturday? Why should people come out on Saturday?
yeah, I mean we're trying to not only obviously have a great product on the field, but we know this might be the biggest crowd that will be the biggest crowd we ever had, for sure, based on trajectory and what we're expecting in capacity. It's going to be, we're really excited for that. So we've been trying to introduce new things and double down from an activation and experience perspective. I mean, we'll have 4 food trucks at the game. I don't think we've ever done that before. We got an awesome halftime show with the Minnesota Disc Dog Club, which is going to be sweet. So we're excited for that. and face painter, 2 face painters, our balloon artist. Be shooting out a bunch of stuff out of the t-shirt cannon. The undie gun from Chill Boys will be firing, and DJ. All of it, right? Like we're trying to create a party, and doing as much as we can to maximize, obviously, fan experience and value. And I don't know, we're really excited. So make sure to get there early. Parking's with our venue. Parking is the main issue. So typically, so get there early, get your seat, get your spot in the beer garden. It's going to be a good time. And, our guys and coaches and leadership, we're hopefully going to put on a nice show for the crowd. It'll be a big celebration. We get the job done. So.
Absolutely. I know we're looking forward to it. And for the listeners out there, if you would like to join me at this championship game, we are doing a ticket giveaway on our Instagram. So go check that out after you listen to this podcast for those details. It's free tickets to this game. Might as well take the chance.
Of course. And if not, if you don't win the tickets, head to shop.windchillultimate.com, secure your tickets. Kids 10 and under are still free for the game. And, we're excited. This is the big one, and hopefully an even bigger one in a few weeks if we can take care of business.
Absolutely. Well, one game at a time. We'll start on Saturday, August 12th. Ben, it's been so great to have you on. I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the playoffs and the game against Indy. At this point, for our perspective, it's kind of sit and wait. And I know you've got a lot of work to do, and the team's got a lot to do to prepare. So, really appreciate having you on. We want to again thank the listeners. Go check out our Instagram page for the giveaway. We got some playoff articles coming out too in the next week or two. And you want to say this episode is presented by the R1P1 Network, doing some great artwork and podcast thumbnails and everything for us there. So shout out to them. We will see you all Saturday, August 12th for the Wind Show game, biggest game of the year. So come out and say hi. In the meantime, stay chilly.